Are you ready for a challenge? Because I am. Actually, no, wait, I don't know that I'm ready for this. I need to get things done, which is why I am doing this challenge. It is currently Wednesday, and on Friday evening, some of my friends are flying from America to China, and that means I have 3 days. They're gonna be here for about 10 days, and during that time, I know I'm not gonna be able to work on my PhD at all. So welcome to a challenge episode of Dissertation Diaries, where I am going to try to write 10 pages of my dissertation in 3 days. If this were any other paper, that's not a problem. I could do 10 pages, but dissertations are not the same. You know, you can spend hours and hours and hours and hours of reading just to add 1 or 2 sentences to the paper. So we're gonna make this a challenge. I think that will motivate me. Also, the looming deadline will also be a motivation as well. So what is the game plan? I think before I even start writing, I need to know what my strategy is going to be. I haven't looked at my dissertation in a week or 2, so it's not very fresh in my mind. I want to go through my chapter 2. I want to add 10 pages to my chapter 2, by the way, which is the literature review. I think I need to go through and figure out what parts, what sections I can beef up, what sections are lacking and I need to add more things. You know, sometimes I went really deep into one specific part and then didn't write very much for the other subcategories in that section. And then I know in other sections I kind of did a general overview for each sub part, but I didn't go that deep. So I want to open up my dissertation, take a closer look at which sections I want to focus on. I think that's going to be the best strategy to handling this, to like really hone in on one section, hone in on another section, and see if we can get about 10 pages. I also need to look at my references as well. I think I need to have about 100 references from chapters 1 to 3. So I want to double check on that to see, you know, do I need to add a lot more references or are we kind of okay? Before I jump in case you haven't seen me before, hi, my name is Megan. I teach English at a university in China. My PhD is in education. Let me tell you a little bit about my dissertation. If you already know this, if you watched the other dissertation diaries, you can always just skip around and go to the next timestamp. But my PhD is in curriculum design and my dissertation is about experiential learning theory, which was developed by David Kolb in the 1980s. This really got popular in Europe and then the Americas, but hasn't really caught on at all in Asia. And basically experiential learning theory is a pretty simple idea. It's the idea that students should be doing things in order to learn. They should be experiencing things in order to learn. So my students specifically as English majors who are studying the English language in China, they should be doing things like writing emails in English and creating advertisements in English and speaking to other people in English and traveling in English. They should be doing these things, not just reading about them in a textbook. A really common idea. I mean, we've seen that idea since Dewey with learning is doing, but experiential learning theory has a certain cycle, a certain system where it works under, and I mentioned it's been popular in Europe and in the Americas, but it's really only been popular in certain fields like science, tech, and medicine. It hasn't really been explored in Asia, and it hasn't really been explored in the context of language learning. So that is what my dissertation is about. It's a qualitative study. I'm going to be interviewing students who have already graduated to look at, you know, what gaps did they have in their learning? What things were they totally unprepared for? To see if experiential learning would really be a beneficial addition for current college students. So that's the lowdown. Let me go ahead and look through my dissertation now to see where are we starting from? How many pages do we have? How many references do we have? Where do we need to beef up? And thanks for coming along with me. I think this will really help me stay motivated, body doubling right now, because 10 pages is no easy feat. Okay, here are the findings. All right, chapter 2 is from page 24 to 46, which is a grand total of 22 pages. I was really hoping to have this be about 30. So you know what? Maybe we don't even have to do 10 pages. I'd still like to shoot for 10 pages, but I'm just putting caveats in there just in case, because I'm worried about getting 10 pages done. If we could get 10 pages done, I will be over the moon excited. 8 pages, that will be like the consolation. That's what we're going for. Okay, I've looked through the different sections. I think my section on content, language, and integrated learning seems really solid. I feel like there's nothing left to do on that section. If you ask me the number one area that needs the most work, I think it's my section about task-based learning, which is essentially the idea that we should give students tasks in the classroom that mirror real-world experiences. That's something that's kind of special about experiential learning theory, is it's not fully specifically defined because it is kind of an umbrella theory. There are a lot of different things that can go under it, like content, language, and integrated learning, like authentic learning, like problem-based learning. So I really think it can be beefed up. I want to talk more about the benefits of task-based learning. Again, that's giving students tasks in the classroom that mirror real-world activities. For example, having students write business emails in class because that's something they might do in the real world. My students are business English majors, so they're learning English for the express purpose of using it in their careers. I also want to talk more about how this one really directly mirrors real world tasks. Why is that so hard to say? I also want to talk about how they can discover new collaboration and new communication with their classmates during this. I also have a section that talks about the specific need for experiential learning theory in Chinese classrooms specifically, and I feel like that section feels a little bit messy, and I'm sure by cleaning it up I will add more to it. I think I would need to add a little bit more about the proof of the effectiveness of experiential learning theory. Maybe I'll add a little bit more in talking about how necessary it is for my students to have linguistic competency and also cultural competency. Often when we talk about language learning, we just think about, you need to be able to communicate in the language, but you also need to be able to communicate culturally in the language as well. I think I'm gonna start with task-based learning and start working on that one first. I think that's gonna feel most rewarding, like if I can get this big section done first. Eat the frog kind of feeling. I think this one also has the best chance for number of pages. This is it, we're starting it. Let's see if we can get 10 pages. Okay, it's about an hour later and I am so excited about this progress. We have almost finished one full page. We're so close. There's 1 or 2 lines left to finish the page, and I'm very happy with that type of progress. I just use an app on my computer called Toggle, so I can just hit the button, and so I've been working for about an hour. An hour for one page? Not bad. I will take it. I have been working on the task-based learning section. However, the way I organize my journal articles is I have them in folders according to the topic, and so I've just been working through my folder that's all about task-based learning. But inside those articles, there are a couple of things that have been about project-based learning and also about authentic learning. So I kind of have been going back and forth to add in those other little details. So I haven't added like one full page for task-based learning. I've added a little here, and I've added a little for authentic learning, and I've added a little for project-based. I'm going to take a really quick coffee break. Also, I did decide to send my draft to my teacher just now because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I know this is just a draft submission. If it's not good enough, she'll send it back and she'll give me the feedback, but I just have had no feedback. Since October, the only feedback I've been able to get have been one-word responses. Literally, the last time I got feedback, it just said, good. What do you mean, good? I sent you a 100-page document and you just say, good? So I have just felt very unsupported, unguided. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know where the weak points are in my dissertation. And I had wanted to write the 10 pages and then send it to my teacher, but I just decided, you know what, done is better than perfect, even though it's not done. but I need something. Is this what everyone deals with when they do their PhD? Is it just my chair or is it my school? I don't know why I am so in the dark, because up to this point, the way all my other teachers were talking, it sounded like they were going to be heavily involved. We would be doing like Teams meetings and Zoom calls to talk about it. We'd be getting a lot of back and forth, and I just have heard basically nothing for months. Okay, I'm gonna make a coffee and then I'm going to do a little bit more work. I took a break from writing and I'm doing a little bit of work on reading. I found that helps me so much when I feel like I'm a little bit tired of like output. I'll switch to input for a little bit. I don't always want to be task switching, jumping back and forth, but after a couple of hours of like output and writing, I start to feel a little bit tired. But anyway, I'm reading this fascinating article that's talking about nativeness versus intelligibility, specifically in China. So the argument is, do we need to have ESL students and EFL students who sound like a native speaker, or do we just need to be able to understand what they're saying? And I love this debate. It talked about the fact that in the past, like in the 1960s, really there was such a focus on sounding like a native speaker. Like that was the gold standard. But now, as our world has become more interconnected and more globalized, most of the time it says when you're talking to, it says non-native English speakers outnumber English speakers. We knew that already, right? But it says that the verbal exchanges conducted in English more often happen between two non-native speakers than between a native speaker and a non-native speaker. So this person's not a native speaker and this person's not a native speaker. Why are we harping so much on having students sound like a native speaker in class? Now, that's not to say we want two people who can't understand each other. The goal is we can understand each other, not do we sound like a native speaker. And they said that this is something that China needs to focus on, because in the past they have really focused on this nativeness principle. But it also said that as of like 2016, which is a little bit old, but it says that China boasts the largest body of learners of EFL in the world, with about 200 million to 350 Chinese students speaking and studying. Now, there's a lot to consider with a statistic like that. I mean, for years, China had the largest population in the world. It's only now since been overtaken by India, which English is one of the official languages of India. So are we counting them as EFL learners? Hard to say. But still, just the fact that there's that many students studying English and not that many native speakers in the country, relatively, comparatively speaking English, is really interesting. Yeah, I just thought this discussion is really interesting because my students always talk to me about how much they want to sound like a native. I think it could be really helpful for my freshmen next semester if I kind of go over this with them and talk about the fact that maybe sounding like a native speaker is not the most important thing in the world. Maybe first we establish being able to be understood as the priority, and maybe we end there. I think it's a really interesting thing to think about. Good morning. It is another overcast day, which basically in southern China is just all of February. We have amazing weather for most of the year, but February, never that great. Okay, here is the recap on the progress that we made yesterday. Yesterday, I ended up writing 2 papers and I read 6 articles. And if you know how long it takes to read an article, you know why that took up a lot of the time. I also did something else that I thought was really, really helpful for me, because as I keep reading, I read an article that's just focused on task-based learning, but because all of these things are quite interconnected, like authentic learning, task-based learning, problem-based learning, there are a lot of other references that I want to add for other topics. So I just found myself yesterday wasting a lot of time scrolling up and down in my document trying to find the right spot. So what I decided to do was, let me bring you facing this way so you can see. Okay, is this glamorous? Absolutely not. But basically what I did is this is my general outline. And you probably can't even really see it, but I just highlighted each of these with a different color, the colors of the rainbow. And then, I mean, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I went through my chapter 2 and I then highlighted each section to match the color. So while I'm scrolling through, if I need to add something for authentic learning, I know now that my authentic learning is orange. And as I scroll down and I see yellow, I know that's my CLIL section. If I go to this blue color, then I know it's PBL. And I just found that that was saving me a lot of time yesterday. So I'm really glad I did it. Obviously, I'm gonna have to remember to turn it all back to black before I email my teacher again. Also, speaking of teacher, I know I wrote 2 pages and read all of those articles yesterday, but the thing I'm most proud about is the fact that I emailed my teacher and I was like, hey, I kept it short, but I was like, I have not gotten any feedback at all. This isn't your problem. However, the class that I had before in September, that teacher ripped my paper to absolute shreds. She said my entire outline was a mess. None of it was logical. It didn't make any sense. And she said that like on the last day of class. Thank you. But to me, it made sense. So when I started my next class and I had a different teacher, I sent an email to her and I was like, do you agree? Because it makes sense to me. And she said, yeah, it looks good. And now I have had my chair and a committee member approve my outline. So I just feel very, very confused because I had one teacher tell me like, this is actual garbage. You need to start over completely. Then I had another teacher who literally just said, good, excellent. And I think I'm probably in the middle. I don't think this is perfect. I think there are a lot of things to improve. I also don't think it's a piece of garbage and I need to throw everything away. So I basically just asked my current teacher to really give me feedback, and she said that, she said, oh, I'm so sorry that that happened. She said, I'll try to get my feedback to you as quickly as possible. And to be honest, that's why I started doing a lot of reading, because I was kind of hoping that when I woke up this morning, I would get feedback, because that's one great thing is when I'm sleeping, people are working in America, and I just kind of hoped I would wake up to feedback, which would help me as I'm trying to write a little bit more. But we didn't get any feedback. That's fine. I don't expect her to drop her whole life and check this in 24 hours. But that is just a little bit of where my headspace is at and why I'm feeling a little bit hesitant to just go hardcore and write a lot. I'm just looking at what I think the weak points are. But I am gonna meet a friend for lunch. We try to see each other every week. So we're gonna just get lunch. Maybe we're gonna get Vietnamese food. I'm not sure exactly. And we have to leave in about an hour. So I'm gonna do a little bit more work, see what I can get done. And then maybe we'll stay at a coffee shop after lunch. So I think I want to do a little bit of writing while I have my big monitor and my laptop, and then maybe when we go to the coffee shop we can do a little bit more reading. I know I said at the beginning of this vlog I want to get 10 pages. I mean, reading is a part of getting them, but I'm just feeling that hesitation that maybe I should wait for feedback before I write too much. I don't know, we'll see what we end up doing, but I'm gonna get a little bit of work done and then we'll head out to lunch.
Encouraging the pop.
Are you ready for today? Because I don't think I am. So my friends come tonight. which means this is my last day before they come and before everything gets crazy. They're gonna be here for about 2 weeks, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to work on this very much. I mean, it'd be great if I got some feedback back, but that hasn't happened yet. So I think we're gonna still try to hit 10 pages as much as possible. I'm going to go to a coffee shop right now and we are just gonna stay there for as long as possible and see how much we can get done. I mean, fingers crossed. I'm feeling a little bit all over the place right now because I know like the start of the semester is coming, and so I know like once they leave there's so much paperwork I have to do. I have to prep my lessons. I have like tax meetings going on. There's a lot going on right now. But we're gonna put all that out of our minds and we are just gonna go and we're gonna see how much we can get done. I don't know that I'll be able to talk that much because this coffee shop is usually kind of busy. There aren't too many right around here, so basically everyone goes to the same one or two. Let's see though how much we can get done. Let's go. Oh my goodness, we were so close before it was time for me to leave. We got to page 9, like actually wrote some on the very last page, but just didn't get to finish it. And you know what? I'm okay. I feel good about that. At the beginning of this challenge, I was thinking that I'm gonna be really disappointed if I don't get all 10 pages done because I really did want to do that. But you know what? I feel really good about this. I got way more done today than I thought I could have. It's amazing what motivation a deadline can be. There's probably about 30 more minutes of work, but truth be told, my friends are going to be landing in an hour, probably about 2 hours. So it's time for me to head over to Hong Kong and pick them up at the airport. I don't have much time. I've got to go. My head is spinning. I truly cannot believe that I did that much work on it today. Everything feels a little bit crazy, and now it's time to switch into fun mode because my friends are coming. But thank you for coming along with me on this challenge. Definitely having the video as a challenge motivated me so much. I was determined to get 10 pages by the end, but I'm really happy with how we left off. So I will finish up this eventually, send it off to my teacher. But thanks for coming along with me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I know I will because I'm headed to Hong Kong and I'm gonna have the best time with my friends, but you can always check back here for weekly videos. I will see you next time. Bye.